In one of the most dominant wins of the season, the Tigers beat the first place Houston Astros by a score of 10-0. We'll talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. The Detroit Tigers absolutely pummel. They annihilate. They dominate. They crush the Houston Astros by a score of 10-0. The Astros obviously in that hunt for a first-round bye in the postseason. They had the third best record in the American League going into this outing. The Detroit Tigers leave the evening back in the driver's seat and back as the 1 seed in the AL. 10-0. They improved to 74-53. The Astros fall to 69-56. What a win. What a win. That is one of the most dominant wins of the season for the Detroit Tigers. As I just stated, the Astros have the third best record in the American League. 10 runs, 7 walks to 8 strikeouts is phenomenal. A couple of those, on both ends, Ks and walks, coming against a position player. But regardless, even before that, really, really good command and control of the strike zone, really good pitch recognition, really good game plan. 13 hits on top of those numbers, a shutout on the mound for the pitching staff. Everything was going the Tigers' way against a good team, and that is an absolute beauty. You now face 2 good pitchers against Houston in games 2 and 3 of this series, and you just got to split to walk away with a huge series win against a team that, again, you are directly competing with for a first-round bye in the postseason. Bang, 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 bang. All of that was awesome. This is the type of win that I don't want to say completely resets or certainly doesn't nullify the last month and a half. Again, I'm not trying to swing too far in either direction because of one game really ever and be overly reactionary. But this is the kind of win that at a minimum will kind of reset your bearings and maybe kind of remind the fan base of how good this baseball team has been for over a calendar year now. So what went right? Everything. That's the show. We can, we can get out of here early. I can go to bed early. You guys don't have to listen to me talk for, and just yap for half an hour. We can just say everything, leave it at that, and call it wraps. Jack Flaherty was phenomenal. 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk to 9 strikeouts. His ERA down to 4.51 after this outing. That is legitimately, and this is including last year too, okay? This was legitimately one of the best outings Jack Flaherty has ever had as a member of the Detroit Tigers organization. His CSW percentage, called strikes plus whiffs, we talk about that stat quite often, so just the amount of times a pitch was a strike excluding foul balls, was around 40%. For all 3 of his pitches. He ended, I think, at 39% total. But all 3 of his pitches, curveball, slider, fastball, were all very high 30s or low 40s percentages in that number. Fastball had some of the best life to it I've seen from him in quite some time. The spin rate was up a little bit. Both breaking balls were tunneled just incredibly well. That is textbook tunneling. If you are a young player who is trying to learn, tunneling techniques or learn, what makes you good on a mound as you're playing baseball growing up, that is the epitome of what tunneling is what Jack Flaherty just did. Low fastballs. When they're sitting fastball, then you go low and away sliders. Then they're sitting slider. You go back to the fastball and maybe you go in on it a little bit so it looks like it's the slider going to break away. Then when they're sitting on both of those two, you bring old Uncle Charlie out and you get the big loopy curveball. That is a completely different shape than the other two pitches, and all of them look like fastballs until they don't. Fantastic. Dylan Dingler, I want to give a ton of credit to him as well. Stole a ton of strikes at the bottom of the zone. A ton. And it's really easy to just point at umpires and just go, like, you stunk. Look at all these calls you got wrong. They track stolen strikes and they track framing data for a reason. And that was the epitome of that. Go watch how Dylan Dingler received baseballs throughout this entire outing. It was a masterclass. He just kept hitters off balance. Like I said, I mean, nothing was predictable. And that is really, I mean, even if the stuff isn't perfect or the command isn't perfect, if you're not predictable on the mound, you can still have a pretty darn good outing. And in this game, the stuff was great. The command was stellar. And that's something that Flaherty has struggled with really throughout this season, is consistency of command. Again, he just kept hitters off balance. The only inning that gave him trouble was that first inning. He tight ropes out of danger. And then Houston had nothing to offer the rest of the ballgame. And even that first inning, he threw, 20 pitches? And he still went 7. It's like the longest, I think that's the longest outing of his Tigers career. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Then he hands it off to Troy Melton, who goes 1 inning of perfect baseball with 1 strikeout. His ERA down to 2.7. 1 inning reliever, Troy Melton. Not you're going to, start the game or you're going to be the swing man and go out there in the 3rd and then pitch the next 4 innings. Not, you're going to go out there in the 5th and take us, 2 times or 1 time through the lineup or whatever. This was, you got the ball, you can throw 100, go empty the tank. And we haven't seen that yet. He's been in the bullpen for, 3 weeks now since the deadline. And we still haven't seen like a true legitimate, okay, here's a short burst. Here's 1 inning. Go be a 1 inning reliever. And boy, was it fun. I really am just hoping he can consistently flash the radar gun. It's so nice to have that in the bullpen. And this bullpen is completely different if you have Vest, Finnegan, obviously, who have been great, paired with a 1 inning, short burst Troy Melton, and potentially Alex Lange if he knows where the strike zone is. We'll talk about that later, okay? I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm absolutely holding my breath, but this bullpen looks completely different when those guys are on versus when they're not. Let's talk about the offense, okay? We'll do that right after this. First, though, I've got to talk to you all about our friends over at FanDuel. August 26th, coming up quickly here, is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take a flyer on the MVP race, okay? Crown your champion in August, or parlay a couple of your division winners, which better include the Detroit Football Lions, in a, like I said, parlay as well. So visit FanDuel today or the FanDuel app and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping a highly anticipated Game 2 of the series against the Houston Astros. We'll preview that very, very highly anticipated game at the end of the show. Today, though, we talk about this 10-0 dominant victory for your Detroit Tigers. We talked about the pitching. They scored 10 runs, and we haven't even talked about the offensive performance outside of the opening thoughts I had yet this show. Let's start with the individuals, okay? Then we'll go to team approach again, kind of as a whole. Colt Keith, 3 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBI in this game. His OPS is now up to 783, and he pairs it with a 268 batting average. I was doing some looking in this ball game after his first hit. So I was like, man, I really feel like he's been the leadoff hitter for a while now, and he's been doing really well. Colt Keith has the highest on-base percentage on the Detroit Tigers since August 1st, July 1st, and June 1st. And in the month of August, his OBP is now comfortably over 400. I say that because it was 400 exactly going into this ball game, where he got on base 3 times and hit a home run. Not that the home run matters to on-base percentage, but got on base 3 times, and it was 400 in August going into this game. It's awesome. It's awesome to see him thrive in this role, be that table setter that is getting on base so consistently. I remember when they first put him in the leadoff spot, and Hinch first started doing that in May, and June really is where it really kind of gained steam. And people, like, again, I read my own comment section. Like, a lot of people were like, what is Hinch doing? Why is Colt Keith leading off? What is going on? And it's like, well, now it's pretty clear. He has been one of the best hitters on the Detroit Tigers for 2 months, and that starts and ends with his dominance of the strike zone in that span. And the defense has been okay. He's not going to win a Gold Glove over at third base anytime soon, but he's been serviceable there. And that's all we were really asking for, assuming the bat came along, and it is now starting to. Glaber has struggled mightily in August. So I was looking at on-base percentages for the Detroit Tigers in the month of June. Gleyber Torres is like one of the lowest on the entire team. Just a few ticks over 200 in the month of August. And again, we're almost 3 weeks into August. That's not exactly a tiny sample size, but has 2 walks in this game, back to competitive at-bats. I just love him at the top of this lineup, because even if he's not producing, he's a tough at-bat that's going to make you earn an out and going to make you fill the zone. So nice to see him get back on track there, and hopefully that's a sign of momentum and things to come. Like, for just for reference, like we've talked about how great Gleyber Torres has been all season. Colt Keith, his OPS is almost 30 points higher than Gleyber Torres at this point. It's wild. Colt Keith is a dog. Riley Green, big home run in this ball game. Only hit on the night, but we will take it. OPS back up to 821 on the season. Spencer Torkelson gets on base 3 times in this game. 2 of those were walks. His on-base streak is now at 15 games, so we're at over 2 weeks, which is an awesome thing. Also had a great play defensively at first base, so hopefully he keeps that going. It's such a far cry from when he first got called up. Not only was he struggling offensively, but that year he was legitimately one of the worst defensive first basemen, like not just in baseball that year, like legitimately in the last 10 years. Like he was that bad defensively. And again, I don't think he's going to win any Gold Gloves over there anytime soon either, but he's serviceable. He's a serviceable first baseman that has an OPS of 815 and is among the American League leaders in home runs of first baseman, among first basemen as well. We'll take it. Got to remember what expectations were going into the season. Wenceel Perez, 2 for 3 with a walk, a hit by pitch, and a home run. He has also been one of the best hitters on the team in the month of August. His on-base percentage in August is also comfortably over 400. You know, AJ had a quote after the game in the post-game press conference where he had said, I don't have the exact quote written down, but essentially he said, I tell you how I feel about a player based on how I use them. And we talk about that on this show all the time. Usually we talk about it in terms of the bullpen. He talked about it in terms of Wenceel Perez and said that, and then said, and he plays every day. So that should tell you all you need to know about the coaching staff's opinion of Wenceel Perez and how valuable he's been. OPS is 815, the same as Spencer Torkelson. Far fewer plate appearances, obviously. Missed a lot of time in the beginning of the season, but has had a great year and has been a very valuable piece to this Tigers lineup. Dylan Dingler, 2 for 5, was a foot away from a home run as well. Would have been a 3-run shot, but I am so impressed by Dylan Dingler always. Not only what he's done offensively, but he's just so rock solid behind the plate. I said this a few days ago, maybe even yesterday. I don't know. Time, it doesn't exist. But Dylan Dingler might lead position players in WAR by the end of the season for the Detroit Tigers. And this is his first full major league season. Like, he might have, and I say position players, he might have the most WAR on the team among anybody not named Tarek Skubal. That's like within grasp. And he doesn't play every single day because catcher. You got to save the knees. Very impressive season from Dingler. And then Trey Sweeney even getting in on the fun. 2 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBI. Look, like, obviously 10 runs looks great, and you see that and you go, well, yeah, that's obviously everybody came to hit. Everybody did well. The approach was just so fantastic. Even when they had, bases loaded, no outs, and didn't score, which drove everybody nuts early in the game, they were applying pressure and did not let them stop, did not allow that to stop them from continuing to apply pressure after that moment. Great counts, great deep at-bats, a ton of walks, not a lot of strikeouts. They were just all over it. Shout out to Michael Bernard, one of the lead hitting coach. There's a lot of hitting coaches for the Tigers organization, but I don't even know if he's the lead. They have like co-hitting coaches. Anyway, shout out to the hitting coaches, because the game plan in this ball game, the game plan that the team drew up for this game clearly worked, and they were all over no matter who was on the mound for Houston. What went wrong in this ball game? Not a whole lot. It was a 10-0 win against a good baseball team. Not a lot. One of the moments I just mentioned, probably the only legitimate thing that did go wrong, was bases loaded, no outs early in the ball game, and they don't score. That was super frustrating in the moment, because it was before, we knew that they were going to put up 10 anyways. It's just that moment highlights, I think, an issue of the bottom of this lineup. I know Trey Sweeney went 2 for 4. I think I said 2 for 3. 2 for 4 with the home run. Even after going 2 for 4 with a homer, has an OPS of 592. After those are added in, he's still not at 600. And Javi, since the All-Star break, his numbers have fallen off a cliff. So, the bottom of the lineup just is a I guess concern is the right word. I don't want to be overly dramatic here, but I think that is something that you are looking and hoping improves. You're hoping Javi can hit more like he did in the first half of the season. You're hoping that, Matt Vierling comes back healthy and Trey Sweeney doesn't get as much playing time. Really, he's still relatively young. He can turn it around too, I guess. But there is something to be said for every time there is momentum and the line is moving on the lineup card, and then you get to Sweeney, Baez, or Jake Rogers when he plays, it just stops all momentum in its tracks, and you don't score most of the time. So if there is anything to nitpick, it is that, but that is being nitpicky. As I said, Trey Sweeney had the most RBI on the team in this ball game, so certainly made up for it, put a couple of good swings on it. Speaking of Jake Rogers, I guess he struck out via a position player. McCormick striking out Jake Rogers. We can count that as something that went wrong. That's not a great look. Let's talk stuff. Okay, got a few things I want to talk about with the lineup. Want to talk roster moves. We'll talk about Alex Lange's return to the Tigers and the major leagues as well. Then we'll preview a fun Game 2 pitching matchup. We'll do all of that right after this. First, though, I've got to talk to you about our friends over at Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen, even Aaron Rodgers, as much as saying his name makes my skin crawl. There's so much fun action to look forward to this football season and so many great storylines. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, everybody, welcome back here at segment 3, third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Talking about a 10-0 victory for your Detroit Tigers. Let's talk stuff. Something I thought was noticeable, and I'm not trying to make this anything bigger than what it was, which is just the lineup of one game in August. But Zach McKinstry not in the lineup despite a right-handed starter and then a ton of right-handed relievers after him, I think at least is something to raise an eyebrow at. Is it just a normal day off and it's hey, McKinstry's played a lot this year. His numbers have gone down. No matter what, we're just going to give him a full day off. Then that's all it is. Riley Green's had 8 of those since the All-Star break. Okay, that's fine. But I think there is also, again, something to be said for, is this, okay, the numbers are coming back down to earth. They're getting offensive production from other places. Maybe it's just not a necessity. Because there was a point in the first half where Zach McKinstry was playing every single day, including when a lefty was even on the mound because he was hitting so well. So I think that's something to keep an eye out for. The big story of this ball game off the field going into the game was Alex Lange's return to the major leagues, promoted before the first pitch, and Bailey Horn sent down to AAA, just optioned, not DFA'd. So that is now, in the last 72 hours, Hannafy and Lange back in the majors, Bailey Horn and Brant Herter down to the minors. That is 2 lefties for 2 righties. That means that Tyler Holton and Tarek Skubal are literally the only 2 left-handed pitchers on the entire roster, starters and relievers combined. Okay, now that will not last. And this team is very analytical. They do their homework. Clearly, they do not feel like they're going to need too many lefties coming out of the bullpen for the next probably rest of the week. They've probably looked at the Houston series. They looked at the Royals series, and they've gone, you know what? We probably aren't going to need to have a ton of lefties in the barn. Let's get Lange up here, see if he's figured it out. Let's get Hannafy back up after his 15-day minimum down in the minor leagues in AAA. And if Herter can figure it out at the end of his 15-day minimum, then he can come back up for whoever, whether it's Lange again, Tommy Kahnle, etc. But it's interesting for sure to have one lefty and one starter in your entire staff. But Alex Lange, okay? 1 inning, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, 0 ERA, obviously on the season, this being his only outing. First appearance at the major league level in over 400 days. And I thought you kind of saw the full ray of vision, the full spectrum of the Alex Lange experience in this ballgame. 5 whiffs on 20 pitches is diabolical. Okay. His whiff rate was over 40% in this outing. That's incredible. That is elite stuff. Okay. His whiff rate on his curveball alone, not his whole arsenal, just the curveball, was over 50%. Over half of the swings when he threw a curveball were whiffs. Jack Flaherty threw over 90 pitches and had 11 whiffs total. Casey Mize had 9 whiffs on 10 strikeouts this weekend total. Alex Lange had 5 in 20 pitches. His whiff rate was again almost 50%. The thing to watch is going to continue to be what it always has been, and that is being even remotely close to the strike zone. We know what he can do if he's throwing strikes. We saw the first half of 2023 and how just unbelievable he can be. He was the best reliever in baseball the first 2 months of 2023. Won the award, reliever of the month, was noticed as the best reliever in baseball. We also know what happens if he's not around the zone. He got demoted before his injury. It's a great story. It's awesome. I'm rooting for him. I feel so happy for him. It was not just an injury, though. Right? He was demoted with a lat. He was demoted because he couldn't find the strike zone, then had the lat injury, rather. So we know both ends, both extremes of what Alex Lange can be. And he admitted it. It's not like he's oblivious to it. He has worked his tail off. I'm rooting for him so hard. He admitted it immediately before even pitching in this ballgame. He has a quote with Evan Petzold of the Free. He's like, I know I have to throw strikes. And he even said, that's what everyone is going to be talking about. And he's right. This outing, even though you kind of saw everything, was just awesome. You could tell he was itching to get back out there. You can tell how much it meant to him. You can tell the emotion he had on the mound in a 10-0 ball game. It was not the prettiest outing ever. And there was still a walk in there. I'm not even 100% convinced or confident. I'm not even close to 100%. I am nowhere near confident that he's going to be able to be around the strike zone. But seeing the whiffs in this game and seeing him throw a shutout inning to end a ball game for the first time in over a calendar year is just absolutely awesome to see. And on a personal level, you got to root for a guy like that as well. Cares so much about his teammates, cares so much about being a part of winning in this organization. I really do wish the best for him. And as I said earlier, this bullpen is completely different. The outlook of this pen totally changes if Alex Lange is pitching well, because there's where your whiffs come from. Finnegan, way more whiffs since being a Tiger. Will Vest has just had a good season in terms of whiff rate and K rate. Well above league average in both of those, is the only guy that you know consistently can get those. Troy Melton has the potential to be that if he's a short burst 1-inning reliever going forward. And now Alex Lange's back, and we're just all my viewpoint of what I just ran down is not unique or special to me. You all were probably saying the same thing when he was on the mound. When you talk about the Tigers and talk about Alex Lange with your friends or out at the bar or whatever, it's all the same conversation. It's if this dude can just be near the zone, my goodness, let us pray that can happen, because he can be dominant. The problem is if he's not, he can also produce so little that he's not even a major league pitcher. I'm all for his return. I completely agree with the decision. I think that you look at the production that the Tigers have gotten from and received from the bottom 3 or 4 arms in the bullpen. It is well worth the risk to see if Alex Lange can figure it out the rest of the season. Okay. What else? Chris Rodriguez, 10th homer down in the very lower levels of the minor leagues for the Detroit Tigers, but 17 years old, 10 homers, man. He's having a heck of a year down there. The highest rated international prospect in the history of the Detroit Tigers organization continues to make a name for himself. That's kind of cool. And now we have game 2, which is, the main event, if you will. Tarek Skubal, Hunter Brown going at it. 2 of the best pitchers in all of baseball. 2 of the top Cy Young vote getters for this upcoming season, almost assuredly. Hunter Brown from Detroit, from Wayne State. Tigers had no interest in him. Still not mad about it. That regime is gone, so it's okay. It's not okay, but whatever. The Astros are in an interesting spot here. So, first off, this Houston Astros team has a ton of injuries to it right now. And so that's important to note when recapping and watching these games. But it's also important to note that they have been shut out for now 2 games in a row and now have to face Tarek Skubal. Their last 2 games are a 12-0 loss to the Orioles and a 10-0 loss to the Tigers. And now they face Tarek. Pounce. No pun intended with the Tiger thing, okay? Pounce, take a series against an Astros team that is among the best records in the American League. You need this series. You need it. It's at home, and you're going to regret it at the end of September if you don't get it now. You want a bye. You do not want to play a 3-game series wild card weekend. You need to win this. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping that highly anticipated ball game. Appreciate you all greatly. Be sure to check out Locked On MLB after you listen to this over at Locked On MLB's YouTube channel. Locked On MLB Game Night is one of the coolest shows there is. They recap every single game, every single night, literally 7 days a week, all season long. They work their tails off. Go reward them, and you can get a good summary and kind of understand the landscape of Major League Baseball for any given day. All right. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.